All right, it's a little bit bittersweet that summer's coming to a close, but maybe getting into the routine again, organizing your house, getting some new sheets for your bed. I mean, maybe it's time to start fresh, right? New school year, new look, better organization. Wayfair has amazing items for you to refresh your workspace, maybe to get a new desk for your kid. I'll tell you, buying stuff for your kid feels pretty good. My son just bought his first house, and as a housewarming gift, I'm going to let him pick out a Wayfair standing lamp. That's what they need. There are so many to choose from. The prices are incredible. If he orders it, the delivery is going to be so fast. The process is so easy. It is convenient to use Wayfair to get everything your home needs this season. It's got a huge selection of outdoor items and indoor items. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. The first few weeks of high school, the first few weeks of middle school are going to be a combination of things that you really figure out pretty easily or that you even already know, and that there are going to be things that you had no idea even existed. And the goal of moving forward in life, the goal of going to a new school, starting a new stage in life, is to tolerate that combination of things you know and things you don't. And the only way you figure things out is to go through them.
Welcome to Season 8 of Flusterclux with Lynn Lyons, where we talk about managing worry, anxiety, and all the other emotions too.
I'm Lynn Lyons. I'm an anxiety expert, author, speaker, and mom. I've been a therapist for 35 years, and I'm still in the trenches with families, helping them navigate daily struggles and big problems. Parenting can be a flusterclux, but we tackle the serious stuff without being too serious.
I'm Robin. I'm Lynn's sister-in-law and co-host, and I'm here to ask your questions.
And I'm Ed, the producer of Flusterclux.
And my brother.
And my husband.
Anxiety is a family problem with a family solution.
Hey, Lynn.
It's Robin. She's back. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's just nice to see you. Plus, you've been away, so I haven't seen you for a long time.
Yes. No, it's really great to be back and for us to kick off Season 8, which is insane.
I know, but we have to, full disclosure, our seasons are totally random, but not totally random.
They were in the beginning. They aren't anymore. Yeah. We were like, 4 episodes. That's a season.
How about 27? That's a season. Ed was saying we have 280 episodes we were talking about when we recorded last. So pretty amazing, week after week.
Yeah.
We've just kept this thing going since April of 2020.
We have. We had a really cool summer where we were together, the 4 of us, for like an uninterrupted month, which is interesting because when you go about your daily life, people go to work, people go to school, and you have like a couple hours together.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when you are 24/7 together? And, you know, a lot of families, if you've got little kids still at home and you work from home or whatever. But it was very interesting for us to be in that dynamic without really a lot of breaks. And I want to mention something that came up, that my kids are 13 and 19, and they get along pretty well. They do, but they're not perfect. They have their moments. And obviously there were some moments of annoyance and personal space and all of those things, because it just happens. Ed and I were at our limit of hearing the bickering one day, as every parent gets to.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And my kids are old enough now that we can really talk about the stuff that you and I talk about on the show. And I just said, you know, someone told me this pretty late in life, but let's start talking about this right now. Why do we not give our best behavior to the people that we love the most, who are dearest to us? Why do the people who are the most important to us don't get the best of us? So we had this conversation, and really, we always encourage them to really stay close and stay respectful of one another so that their adult relationship doesn't have a lot of skeletons in the closet and stuff too. And it was a really good conversation. And I feel like we could have even started talking about that even sooner. So I bring that up because I think it's a really important thing to reset and think about how do we show the people that we love the most our best.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the things I'm hearing more and more of, which I'm not a big fan of, is these new terms that are basically saying our children have these issues, so it means that they're going to treat us in this way. And I think that that's not a great path to go down. So system restraint collapse is one of the things. I think I've probably talked about that before. When a child comes home from school, they're going to have a really rough time, and you have to allow that because it's their safe place for them to treat you in a certain way. I mean, this is sort of silly, but funny. I was reading this article about why cats bite you when you're petting them.
Oh, I saw you post that on Instagram.
And it said that they trust you enough to set those limits. I was like, no, but that's the language. I mean, now we've put it on a cat, for God's sakes. Cats bite because they bite. But it's this idea that we have to allow our kids to behave this way in our home because they're working so hard to behave better out in the world. And I just think that's not a great message. So I like your message better, is that let's raise the expectations of how they behave with us rather than saying we can allow this behavior toward us because they feel safe with us, because we're the safe place for them. Not a good model.
Right. It's turning that upside down. So I wasn't going to mention this, but I think I'm going to now because you just talked about that. And like
About my cat?
No, about like moments of dysregulation. So there was a really big tantrum and meltdown on this trip, and it was me.
Oh.
It was me.
Yeah.
And the family can sort of laugh about it now. And just the quick backstory, we were in a foreign country. We had rented a car. The car beeped at me every effing second. Safety beeps, speed limit beeps, all these other beeps. Like, it was not an easy experience driving this car. I was driving half the speed limit, which felt as fast as I could go on curvy mountain roads. And I was only going half, so people are honking. And I had a week of this, and it really pushed me over the edge. And I finally had a meltdown about it and didn't realize how much it was stressing me out. I haven't had a meltdown in a really long time that I could think of.
Yeah.
And everyone was kind of freaked out and not really knowing how to respond. Ed was just like, who are you? Please reset.
Yeah.
And it was like, sometimes even the adults can have meltdowns. And when we see a toddler meltdown, there's like, it's kind of intuitive what we do with a toddler. Just give them a hug, right? Just give them a hug and then like they'll calm down. Just give someone a hug, even if it's the grown up and it goes away. And I since then read this funny thing about family travel and I loved this. I think you'll like this too. Everyone gets one tantrum on a trip.
Oh.
And if someone starts working up to a tantrum, then everyone else can say, is this when you want to spend your tantrum? Because it gives someone this moment to consciously pull out of the tantrum and choose to regulate and move on. I'm okay. You're right. I'm not going to spend my tantrum on this.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't worth it.
This isn't worth it. Or sometimes like you're in it and you can't get out of it and you just have to go with it. And clearly that becomes self-evident. I actually liked that because it starts giving them the skill of, am I really going to spend my tantrum token here?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other thing too, it implies pretty directly, so more than implies, I guess, is that you actually have some
control and choice.
Control. I have said this many times before. People will say to me, well, he goes from 0 to 100 and there's nothing we can do and there's nothing he can do. And I always tell that story about the time that there was the guy on the plane, speaking of travel, who was having a tantrum on the plane because they wouldn't let him sit in first class. And he was mouthing off the whole flight, and the attendants were sort of coming back and saying to us, we apologize, we've got this under control. And he was just being an asshat. He was just being the worst of the worst. And then when he got off the plane and there on the jetway were the 4 New Hampshire state troopers, boy, did he get himself under control quickly. So it's not that all kids can do that, of course. I like your idea that sometimes kids are having a tantrum and they just need a hug. What that also says is that it's not the time to talk. It's not the time to be rational. It's not the time to give instruction. It's not the time to go over things. It's a time to just slow down and just be there And that's with toddlers, that's what they need very
But
often.
that's also what grown-ups need too.
Yeah, it's true.
So it was good. I also wanted to kind of mention to the listeners, we were on an extended trip and we made our kids leave their phones at home.
Mm-hmm.
I expected some pushback.
Mm-hmm.
No pushback. They were like, okay. So that was relieving.
Yeah.
Some of the best outcome of it was that when we were in a car, for example, and they couldn't just be on their phones, I've got my 2 teenagers playing like Who Finds the Cow First.
Mm-hmm.
So they were playing like Spot the Cow First and getting really into it as if they were much younger. That was a very charming, moment. The one thing that I wanted to talk about today too, because I think it should be on every parent's mind, is we were really hoping that in the absence of phones, we could encourage more reading. Because I think that this generation, especially that is school-aged right now, they're just not reading the way even 10 years ago kids were reading. So I thought, let's talk about a back to school episode of what are some of the resets and settings we should do for the best possible launch.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of other things with screen time with young kids they're looking at, a lot of other skills that as kids are entering school that they don't have. So reading, fine motor control, kids aren't playing with Play-Doh, they aren't cutting with scissors, they aren't holding a pencil. So there's a lot of things that we're seeing over time. Where's the deficit? And we're seeing it in reading for sure. The other thing I just want to say to you is that there are many families that I work with this summer that did a screen detox with their kids. And sometimes it was out of desperation because they were fighting with their kid all the time about screens. They were worried about them spending time in their rooms with the door shut, on the phone all the time. And the screen detox, just like you found, went better than they had anticipated. They thought that it was going to be awful. They may have had a few days of detox where the kids were like, rah, 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 rah. But overall, and this is certainly what I hear from parents that have their kids at sleepaway camps where there's no screens and there's no phones. So the idea of a screen detox, people get really afraid of that. Oh my God, what is it going to be like? And my kid's going to freak out. Setting those limits, having a screen detox is not as traumatic as everybody thinks that it is. It's a good idea.
The other thing you've always said about screens that I feel like a lot of adults don't hear this message based on my conversations with others is that you always say, like, remember when they've got their phones, think about what they're not learning.
Right.
And then parents are like, what are you talking about? But like you just pointed out, the simplicity of using scissors and the gross motor skills and all of these types of things, like this is a real thing.
I had another family where a young child in school was told that their gross motor skills were below average, told the parents, gross motor skills. And they were like, eek. So what that means is the kid wasn't able to climb. They weren't running. They weren't using their body out on the playground in a way that you would expect a 6-year-old to use their body. And they realized it was because they weren't doing any of those things. Child didn't know how to ride a bike, didn't know how to jump rope, didn't know how to, et cetera, et cetera. So when we interrupt all of these play opportunities, it's fine motor, it's gross motor, it's social interaction, it's communication, it's reading. The list is long. And I know that we could go on and on about screens, as we should probably, but also a lot of schools are implementing no phone bell to bell this year. New Hampshire passed a state law, and I'm already hearing parents freaking out. And can I get an exception for my child? And what is it going to be like that they can't have their phone during school? And high schoolers are saying, we're going to sneak in burner phones and do it behind everybody's back. It's going to be an interesting time because the pendulum for sure is swinging toward the direction of what have we done?
Thank God.
I know. It took long enough. We're still in the middle of the woods, but I think we're sort of realizing we're in the woods. And now we're trying to get out of the woods. Yeah.
Let's take a break. And when we come back, let's go through some other things worth thinking about as we launch a new school year together.
Okay. So the summer's winding down, and it's time to think about refreshing your wardrobe. For me, I start traveling again, so I'm looking for staple pieces for the season ahead. Quince nails it with luxe essentials that feel effortless and look polished. I need things that are easy. I need things that are reasonably priced, and I need things that travel well so that I look my best when I arrive, when I'm on stage. It's important to have quality and comfort and good, solid pricing. Think cashmere sweaters. Think cotton sweaters starting at just $40. I have ordered a few silk tops that will be so versatile and so easy for me to wear. They're washable. The best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. For your next trip, for your next gig, like me, for your next fun event, just for your next season in life, go with Quince. Elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. Go to quince.com/fluster for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/fluster to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/fluster. You know, growing up, I was pretty lucky. My dad worked in a bank and my mom was really smart about money. We talked about money a lot, and I learned from an early age what saving was, what spending was, how to budget. And I really think that it's great for kids to have this information early on. I taught my kids about money, and you should teach your kids about money and let them practice. With Acorns Early, your kids can learn their money lessons early and often. Acorns Early is the smart debit card and money app that grows kids' money skills as they grow up. You can start with in-app chores tracker and teach your kids the value of $1. Then let your kids set their own savings goals and start building healthy money habits early. Just like I did. Ready to teach your kids the smart way to earn, save, and spend? Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/fluster or download the Acorns Early app. That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/fluster. Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC, pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/early terms. I love summer. I just love summer. I love being outdoors. I love being active. And I also love how easy it is to enjoy nutritious meals. Green Chef is the way to make it happen. Green Chef makes it easy to spend less time in the kitchen so that you have more time to enjoy the outdoors without sacrificing delicious, wholesome, nutritious foods. Green Chef's real, clean ingredients help you build lasting, healthy habits without the hassle. There are salads ready in just 5 minutes. There are protein-filled breakfasts. There are delicious meals that take less than 3 minutes to cook. I love the Cashew Crunch spinach salad. It was fantastic. I also am going to continue having the lemon, cucumber, and mint quinoa salad. Fabulous. My husband had the pork fillet with lemon dill sauce. He'll definitely have that again. So delicious and so easy. Make this summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50fluster and use code 50fluster to get 50% off your first month. Then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50fluster at greenchef.com/50fluster. Okay, we're back. Okay, so Robin, should we do a little best of list of the things as you're getting ready for the school year that you want to have in the front of your brain?
Absolutely. We have to hear this stuff all the time.
It's true. I was saying to somebody recently, I mean, I do say this. I feel like I say the same thing over and over, which I do because it's redundant. And I get bored with myself and I think, oh my God, do people want to hear this again? And then I also, somebody was talking to somebody who listened to James Taylor playing a concert recently. And how old is James Taylor? 80? And I'm like, is he still playing those songs? And people are still going and listening to him singing those songs. So I'm not comparing myself to James Taylor, of course, but there is something nice about repetition and hearing things over and over again. All right. So here's the first thing on the greatest list hit. Don't talk so much about preparation. So as the school year is starting, you want to be prepared, but you don't want to over prepare. You don't want to be talking about what's coming up. You don't want to go over schedules. You don't want to have everything so that you feel like you have to be completely organized. You want to be prepared because, of course, being totally disorganized and then freaking out the day before school is also not very helpful for kids. But keep your preparation talk and keep your need to have all your ducks in a row. Keep it down as you're getting ready for the new school year.
Even check in with yourself and find out. It's like if there's 3 different parent types who respond to a new school year, you're either the parent who wants to over plan and organize everything. And some parents get a little joy from it too. I get it. Like it's the perfectionist parent who's wanting to make everything great for the new school year, but they're still talking about it and prepping too much. Then there's the parent who's worried. The parent who's like, what if they get a bad teacher? What if they get a bully in their class? What if? And then there's the parent we really want to be, which is the chill parent. What will be, will be.
Yeah. And it's particularly if your child is starting something new in the school year. So if they're going to a new school, maybe they're riding the school bus for the first time. Maybe you've moved and so you're in a different community. Maybe kids that are starting middle school, so they have to change classes for the first time. Those are the things where the worried parent really tends to jump in and feel like more information is better. If I just keep going over and over and over and over and over. What you want to do is you want to let your child kind of be in charge of how much they feel like they need to prepare. And some kids like to prepare. I'm going to sound like an old lady, but they like to have their pencil box or they like to have, I used the term lunchbox when I was talking to Ed in a previous episode. And he's like, I don't think kids carry lunch boxes anymore. But anyway, we would go school shopping and then I had fun with my friends. We would like put our outfits together.
Did you have a unicorn purple Trapper Keeper?
I did not. I remember I'm older than you. So we didn't even have Trapper Keepers. I didn't use Trapper Keepers. I had a Partridge Family lunchbox.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I had a Charlie Brown one and a Scooby-Doo one.
Yeah. And I also had this, I had some funny lunchboxes, but the one I remember the most is the Partridge Family lunchbox. Loved it. But I remember doing all of those preparation things. We went shopping at a store called D&L. That was the big deal. So it was fun to sort of think about the school year and get ready. Let your child take the lead with this. Be careful. If you are the parent who feels like I have to get them ready for everything, I have to go over every scenario, we have to practice this, we have to do this, pay attention to that. Let your child take the lead. What we want to model is the language of being okay with uncertainty. So this is where, I don't know. Like, that sounds cool. I wonder what it will be like. Or, gosh, we won't know that until after we start school. Being able to say to your kids, it's okay if we don't know ahead of time. We learn as we go. That's what life's experiences are for, rather than feeling like you got to front load with information. I love the term front loading. That's being able to understand how worry operates, but we don't have to try and get ahead of it with so much information over and over and over. Yeah. Anxious parents talk too much. We know that. You guys, you talk too much. You prepare too much. Shut your bye hole.
I'm curious what you're saying because now I realize maybe the language that would come naturally to me might not be the right language. Because I would typically say something like, I don't know who your homeroom teacher is going to be. I'm so excited to find out, to sort of model excitement about learning something that presents itself. Is that okay?
Oh, for sure. You want to foster curiosity because anxiety is the opposite of curiosity. Anxiety is, I have to know now or else I won't do it. And oftentimes when kids are asking tons and tons of questions, parents will be like, she's just so curious. She wants to know how everything is going to go. She wants to know all the details. I love how inquisitive she is. I'm like, no, she's worried. That's what you're saying, right? She's trying to get certainty. So curiosity is that, I wonder how this will be. Wonder, curiosity. That's so interesting. How will this turn out?
Yeah, you're expressing the curiosity without being worried.
Right.
Oh, cool. I'm going to find this out and I can't wait. That's exciting. That's positive.
Yeah.
As I get information, I'm cool with not having the information and I'm looking forward to receiving it. That's very different than what's this going to be?
Right. So say your child is riding the school bus for the first time and they're like, what time does the bus come? How many people are going to be on the bus? What's my bus driver going to be like? What if people are mean on the bus? What if somebody says something on the bus that is naughty? Am I supposed to do something about that? All this kind of stuff. Where do I go? How big are the steps on the bus? Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, they're so curious versus, I wonder what it's going to be like to ride the bus. And they might ask questions like, what time does the bus come? Well, that's certainly important to know. And then they go like, who's the bus driver going to be? Well, I don't know. This is new for me too, and bus drivers change, so we'll see. What if somebody says something on the bus that they're not supposed to say? Well, kids say all sorts of things. Sometimes kids say funny things. Sometimes kids said naughty things. You'll figure it out. It's this idea that asking questions is, I'm curious. Asking questions is, I have to know exactly what's going to happen. And there's a different tone. There's a different feel to that kind of inquisition. And that's where we have to pay attention to not talking too much and offering too much reassurance. You'll be fine. Nothing bad is going to happen. All the kids on the bus are going to behave. I'm sure your bus driver is going to be very delightful. Blah, 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 blah. You have to be like, I don't know. We'll see.
Let's change the script for the middle schooler and high schoolers. How would you change your language?
The middle school or the high school is going to say, oh, I'm taking this class and I've never taken this class before. How much homework do you think I'm going to get? Do you think I'm going to have people that I know in my class? What if so-and-so is in my class? I hate her. She's so mean. Or I have to take PE. Am I going to have to change in front of people? What's the locker room going to be like? All that kind of stuff. And then you say, okay, so it sounds like your goal at this point is to know everything ahead of time. And as we step into this new thing, right, you're starting high school, you're starting middle school, there are going to be things you don't know. So one of the things I talk about is the first day, the first week, the first month. The first day, you don't know much. It's going to feel kind of like, the first week, you're going to start to figure it out. By the first month, you're going to have a routine down. You're going to know what it's like. But we can't have the first month happen on the first day. So we're stepping into uncertainty. I have confidence, you say to your kids, I have confidence that the first few weeks of high school, the first few weeks of middle school are going to be a combination of things that you really figure out pretty easily or that you even already know, and that there are going to be things that you had no idea even existed. And the goal of moving forward in life, the goal of going to a new school, starting a new stage in life, is to tolerate that combination of things you know and things you don't. And the only way you figure things out is to go through them. This is where anxious parents, and this is where parents of anxious kids believe that the goal is to make sure they're comfortable and certain ahead of time. That's not the goal. The goal is you can step into this and not know exactly what's going to happen. You can try out for the cheerleading team. You can sign up for the Spanish club. You can become a tutor of younger kids. You don't know exactly how it's going to go. And that's the way that life works. So it's all of this rolling around in the mights and maybes and tolerating not knowing. Parents have a hard time letting their kids step into things in which there could be some discomfort or distress. So it's allow, allow, allow.
It's also remembering that if our kids are struggling with adapting to something new, we have to be okay watching that.
Yes, and that is really, really hard. It is so hard. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I've told this story for a while, but my older son, who's now 27, he went to schools that were so sweet and nice when he was younger. He went to middle school, and we kept saying, like, you got to go to your first day in middle school. And he was sitting on the steps and he was like, I'm not going. And we're like, yeah, you're going. So he went. He came home and he was like, okay, I did the first day. I'm done. We were like, wait, what? He said, yeah, you told me I had to go to middle school. I went. Okay, good enough. Gave it a try. Not for me. And it was hard. He did not like it. It was pretty overwhelming for him. And you know him now. He's pretty capable human being. But yeah, and we had to send him off to school on day 2 with him saying, this is not the place for me. But he figured it out and it was fine. And he had friends and he was fine. But it was not easy. Yikes. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I learned this from another job, that this expression of sometimes you sit on your hands. You just don't dive into something and start doing it. You got to sit on your hands and know when to step in with your kids versus let them figure things out on their own.
Yeah. Here's another really important thing as you're starting the school year. Don't start emailing the teachers in the administration after day 1 or day 2. Sit on your hands and don't type. Don't send panicked emails. Don't ask for big changes. Don't be that parent that says it's day 1 and my child feels uncomfortable and now we need to rearrange everything. Sit on your hands, be supportive, give them hugs, don't talk too much, but don't go flying in hot and demand that the school rearrange everything because your child is distressed during the first few days of school. Let things unfold a little bit.
So say that happens, because I guess it clearly happens a lot. There's a lot going on with a family who is responding that way because the parents are participating in this pattern as much as the kids are. So if one of our listeners right now knows they have done that in years past, what do you want to say to that parent right now? Because there is a little bit of self-reflection and adjustment that might be a great idea.
Yeah. So you want to think about how you're preparing for the school year. And anxious people tend to be more pessimistic about how the future is going to go. We know that. They have a hard time imagining things going well. If you are preparing for the school year by, one, trying to get everything set ahead of time, everything in place, certainty, comfort, all the details, you've got to recognize that just as when you move into a new house, it takes a while for you to figure out where you're going to put the silverware and where the paintings are going to go. It takes a while to adjust to a new class, to a new school, to new peers. So give your family some space, some time, some grace for them to figure it out. The more that you jump in, your kids are very aware that this is what you do. They're very aware of it. When they come home and tell you about some transgression, that when they come home and tell you about some wound that they suffered, when they come home and tell you that they feel a certain way, and you jump into action, they know that. The message you are giving them is that they are not capable of handling themselves. So you are there to support. You are there to empathize. Don't talk too much. When your child comes home and says, I don't like the way that they made me sit in this seat in the lunchroom, or my teacher said blah, 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 and you jump into action, you are saying to that child, you are not capable of handling this yourself. I will do it, which is not a great message. And also, this is an emergency that I need to immediately call the school. And remember that anxiety likes to promote things to an emergency that are not an emergency. So you want to help your child problem solve. But when you step in quickly, you are saying to them, you can't handle this. And also, this is a big problem. And I want them to have the message, let's give it some time. If you need my help, I get it. And this is a problem to be solved, not an emergency that we need to jump into so quickly. So I like that language of sitting on your hands. Empathy, love, support, but let them problem solve.
If you haven't listened to the episode, probably from December of 2023 at this point, the one with your mentor, Michael Yapko, and we talk about the most prominent indicator of depression in a human being, and what was so mind-blowing to me of the way he phrased it was someone who has a passive view about their life. And what has really changed me and changed how I view parenting and skill building is that we want our kids to be in their own driver's seat. And if we jump in and try and fix and try and solve, we are not giving them the practice to get in the driver's seat in their own life, and they remain in the back seat. So flash forward 20, 30 years, and they have a very passive mindset, and that has led them to depression. Those are those micro moments and those skills that are created. It's something that I have to keep in the forefront for me all the time, because there's like a different way that I feel like my weak spot as a parent is not so much about the emotional, but about the life choices. This is what you do for college. This is what you study. I feel like that's one of my weak spots where I'm like, I got to let them figure it out, just because those are the kinds of things I'm kind of good at figuring out.
Right.
And I have to stay quiet. So it's so much about sitting on your hands and letting them figure this out. And I think most parents, this is like one of our biggest struggles.
Yeah. And what happens is that when you have somebody who's anxious, when you have a little worrier, and we did that episode a few episodes ago about the road from anxiety into depression. And that's about a lot of times about passivity. When you have a child that's a bit of a worrier or a real worrier, and you step in, over and over and over again, they don't get practice solving the problem and they get the message that they're not capable. So then you start seeing your child being passive. In high school, you're saying like, you should join some things, or you should go and make friends, or why don't you do this, or you should learn about this, or you should sign up for this. And they take that passive approach. It's because they haven't had practice stepping into things and taking action. So hugely, hugely important. I'm glad you brought that up, because passivity is really one of the commonalities between anxiety and depression, which we talked about in that episode you can listen to. But sitting on your hands, of course, you know how to do things better as a parent. Of course, you can do things quicker. Of course, you can do things more simply. Of course, you can be more efficient in the morning. But letting them do it is how you develop the active muscle rather than the passive muscle. And that's huge. And at the beginning of the school year, really great time to pay attention to that. What are you doing for your children that they can do for themselves?
This is all so true. Let's take a break. We'll come right back.
All right, it's a little bit bittersweet that summer's coming to a close, but maybe getting into the routine again, organizing your house, getting some new sheets for your bed. I mean, maybe it's time to start fresh, right? New school year, new look, better organization. Wayfair has amazing items for you to refresh your workspace, maybe to get a new desk for your kid. I'll tell you, buying stuff for your kid feels pretty good. My son just bought his first house, and as a housewarming gift, I'm going to let him pick out a Wayfair standing lamp. That's what they need. There are so many to choose from. The prices are incredible. If he orders it, the delivery is going to be so fast. The process is so easy. It is convenient to use Wayfair to get everything your home needs this season. It's got a huge selection of outdoor items and indoor items. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Do you have a tough time tracking where your money goes? It's hard. We've got so many different places to spend money now. It could be on your streaming apps. It could be buying coffee. It could be paying attention to all the different bills that you have to pay, the expenses for your kids. It's confusing. Finances can be messy. Monarch Money acts like your own personal CFO, gives you visibility and control so you can pay attention to where your money is going, and gives you complete financial command for your accounts, your investments, and your goals. Did you know that financial stress is one of the top reasons relationships fall apart, other than in-laws? Monarch Money makes conversations easier. You can track shared and individual accounts. You can set goals together. You can keep money check-ins drama-free. Plus, you can even share access with a financial advisor or a tax pro at no extra cost. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code FLUSTER at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code FLUSTER.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Okay, so now back to the show. Okay, so I just said before we went to the break, Robin, that there are things that you should let your kids do for themselves. So let's run through a little list of these things as we're starting the school year.
And this is ageless.
Yes, ageless. Some kids, as they get older, are able to do things like do their homework completely on their own.
But even if you have young adults, it's like learn how to pay your credit card by yourself. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, this is ageless. No matter how old your kids are, we're probably, all of us listening, are doing things they could be doing for themselves.
That's right. My younger son is currently traveling out of the country, and he and his girlfriend planned this whole trip by themselves. And you will get a kick out of this. They flew into the wrong airport. Robin's making a face. There's some airport outside of Paris that is called Paris something, but it's not in Paris.
Right. There's a couple lesser airports. That's the danger of the budget airlines. I mean, we fly the budget airlines all the time, but most of the cities have airports that it's like, isn't that generous to say this is a Paris airport?
Yeah, right. Well, it's like the Manchester airport here, they call the Boston Regional Airport. We're like, it's not the Boston airport. Yes, it is ageless in terms of how they figure this out, paying their credit card bill. Okay, so some things that are really, really important. You want your child as early as possible to start getting themselves up in the morning. Little tiny kids need help waking up in the morning, but this whole idea that they sleep through their alarm, I'm calling BS on that. They hear the alarm, they turn it off. They hear every notification that comes into their phone. I always say they hear a notification a mile away, the alarm next to them. Get an alarm clock, by the way. Stop using the phone as an alarm, because the one thing that we are hearing over and over and over and over and over again is to get the phones out of the bedrooms. But kids should be able, at a very early age, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, teach them how to set the alarm and get themselves up. You may have to help if they're little, but make that a responsibility. They should be able to dress themselves. If you have a child that has difficulty sort of organizing things, keep the morning routine really simple and decide which hill you're going to die on. Because a lot of times I see morning routines that have like 10 steps, and it's really they need to get dressed and brush their teeth. And maybe if they're older, they're packing their snack if they're little, but they can pack their lunch if they're older. It's your job to provide stuff for them to put in their lunch. They are getting their backpack together. They are doing things in the morning that promote this executive functioning, that promote organization, that promote independence. If you are stepping in and doing all these things in the morning, you are not giving them the opportunity to practice, and it's okay if they screw up.
That's why it's better to let them miss the alarm, struggle, figure it out when they're still in elementary school. Because if they're still learning to do this in high school, the stakes are higher with their attendance record. Let them figure it out when it's younger and the consequences are less.
Right. And it is not your job to monitor every step that they take. Sometimes parents like to have a little written list. Like really with little kids, they should have 3 things they do in the morning. I've talked about this whole idea of breakfast where parents freak out if their nervous little tummy kid doesn't want to have breakfast. It's okay if they don't have breakfast. They're going to have a snack at like 8:30. Keep the list short. And it doesn't matter if their hair isn't perfect. It doesn't matter if their outfits aren't matched. It doesn't matter if their shoes are tied in a different way. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Give them the opportunity to move through these things. The other thing too in the morning is that you can help kids practice time management by using an analog clock rather than a digital clock. And I have said this many times, we lived and died by the kitchen timer on the stove, so that they have an idea of the passage of time. Your morning will be more complicated if screens are introduced. Hear me, people. If you are negotiating about screen time as you're trying to get out the door for work and school, you're gonna have a problem. Screens should not be a part of the morning routine for most kids. And if you are saying, when you get ready, you can have your screen, or even worse, you can watch a few minutes of this video before you get ready, you're screwed. Older kids who have their phones in the bedroom wake up and look at their phones, and they will lose 10, 12, 15 minutes before they even blink an eye, and then you're behind the 8 ball. So think about that morning routine, making it smooth, making it simple, no screens.
So true.
Yeah.
And just one other shout out before we go is that I still treat my own life around the school calendar, even though like it doesn't affect me. I still feel like it's a new year. And I would just say that in order to get through this chapter, it's also the most beautiful time of year to be outside in most parts of the country. Get outside and move your body as much as you can before the winter comes.
the research, I mean, we keep seeing over and over and over and over again that walking is good, that moving is good, that walking with friends is really helpful. I can't stress it enough. If you get outside, if you let your eyeballs see the sunshine, it's really good for you in so many different ways. So take advantage of that. Yeah, it is a beautiful time of year for a lot of the country. It's a beautiful time of the year. Get outside. Get off your own screen, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I wish everyone a really good start of a good year, a good solid year.
Yeah, we threw a lot at you guys, but if you've been a longtime listener, I hope you're nodding along saying like, yes, yes, yes. But I know that we have people who come and go. And I also know from experience that I say things 1,000 times and then somebody says to me, well, you always say, Lynn, blah, 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 and say something that I do not always say. So it's good to hear these things over and over again. Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast helpful, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find this information.
And if you'd like to dig deeper on any of these topics, we have specialized playlists on our Spotify profile, and the link is in the show notes. Topics like teens, depression, and OCD. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Robin.
Mom and Dad, I'm growing at an alarming rate, and clothes you buy me this year will be very small very soon. But at least your wallet doesn't have to be my fashion victim with low prices for school at Amazon. Hope that helps. Amazon. Spend less, smile more.